So welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander. Today we're taking a look at a game that's been around for a while, and that is Normandy 44 from GMT Games. This is a two-player World War II operational game designed by Mark Simonich, part of his kind of 40X series. So there's a number of games in this series that use this same, what is referred to as a Zokbahn system at times. So we've got Holland 44, Ardennes 44, this is Normandy 44, but there's also Ukraine 43, Stalingrad 42, France 40, they're working on a North Africa one, we just had Salerno 43, and I wanted to do an unboxing of this because I have had on my shelf for a long time the 2010 first edition. When this first came out, this game's 12 years old or so. It's been on my shelf for a while. I traded for it a couple of years ago, and you know, game's mostly still the same, but it got all the trays, all in this big old tray, but all the counters were clipped with what I can only presume was a cavalry sword. They've chopped off a whole bunch, and so it's just been sat on my shelf for ages. Haven't ever touched it. I know I'm probably going to enjoy this game. This is right up my alley. The box is one of the old thin with the bowed sides. But I think it was Miniature Market, or it could have been Cool Stuff Inc. One of those two kind of big box online retailers had a flash sale of this, and it was $27 for the latest and greatest edition. So this is the third printing from 2021. So this came out just end of last year. This is, 11 or 12 years on from the original. This has got all the fixed errata in it, updated rules, and, brand new counters that I'll be able to click myself. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to get a nice, fresh, brand new one, and we'll kind of take a look at it. So that's the story anyway. Let's crack it open. So it comes in this kind of like 1.5 inch box. Nice little small box that we got going on. And you can fit a counter tray in here with all the counters in it, like you saw on the other one, and it'll all fit in nicely. It doesn't have a mounted board, so this can really slide on any shelf, basically. So we have a D6, which has those are really bold pips on them. Really like that. And it came in a bag, so it's sealed for freshness. So this is a nice, fresh, organic die, so we like that. So yes. These are like the nice kind of glossy rules, and this is edition 2.2. That my original one had like the 1.0 versions, and a sad state of affairs compared to this. So if you've played any games in this series, one of the hallmarks of it, and I will show you in this full color diagram, are these Zokbahns, the zones of control bonds, and they work slightly differently from other zones of control games. But they're very powerful, very strong, and it's a way to reduce counter density amongst other things as well, which is nice. Instead of having to have a line of counters in every hex, it enables you to space it out and reduce the volume of counters on the OOB basically. But this is a Normandy game. There is a bunch of special landing rules in the invasion phase. There's a bunch of different scenarios that you've got going on. But you're looking at 25 pages of rules. And they're pretty dense. You'd like to say that they were very tight at this point, because the series has been around for a long time, and again, this is the latest edition of them. But you can parlay a lot of the knowledge, or the core of knowledge of this, into a number of other games in this series as well. So if you like it, there's plenty more out there for you too. So the next thing we've got is some play aids. So we have here our CRT, which is a lot of a fairly... not standard, a standard CRT, whereas attacker losses, defender losses, retreats, exchanges, things like that, all done on columns based on odds ratios and die rolls. Bunch of different modifiers and things like that you have in here as well. Terrain effects chart. This is not pictorial, which hopefully there's a key on the map. So that's just the one play aid. I wonder if there might be another one, not sure. So we've got our setup counter sled. So this is German at start card. So this is everything that starts on the board for the Germans. And this is the Cherbourg scenario setup card. Okay, and then some reinforcements there as well. This is the Allied start card. So if we're playing the campaign, these are the start cards, it looks like. Yeah, that's Sherborne. I'm not interested in that. And then these are our reinforcement counter sleds. So we've got turn 2, June 7th, all the way through turn 22 for the Germans. And then we've got turn 3, reinforcement points. These are all reinforcement points. Interesting. That looks like these function a little bit differently because you're just bringing on points to build other units up through your beachheads rather than actual organised units already. Interesting. I wonder if that functions a little bit differently. So, next thing we've got is 2.5 sheets of counters. And differently from my old version that we just had out, these are the new, very thick grey core counters. And we'll just punch a couple of these. They punch very nicely. And you could play with these just as they are. They don't have a ton of fluff on each of the corners. I will be clipping these though. So we have this half sheet of admin counters. We've got here. And this is all, you know, hedgehog fortifications, reserve units. You put guys into reserve so they can move in different phases. Disrupted units, out of supply units. And then we've got some allied versions of those as well. And some Commonwealth ones it looks like too. So we have those. Then we also have, so here's the Axis units. So we have all of these German units and a bunch of SS units and a bunch of what I can only presume is Luftwaffe Field Division units. I'm not 100% positive about that. Looks like those are Fallschirm Jägers. No, I said that. Yeah, those are Paras. Okay, so as is quite common in these games, so you have a lot of the military identification icons, but the armor units typically, well, specifically these kind of tank-based units have a silhouette on them. So we have here, these are this is a Panther, this is a Panzer IV, this, that looks like a 120mm gun, looks like a Nashorn, hard to say. I think it's a Stug G. Well, that's the wrong, yeah. That's not the right silhouette for that. Yeah, Panzerjäger 4. Well, yeah, tiny little Vespers down here. So, well, that's interesting. That's a different symbol for the name that's on there. But I guess it could be for something else. But that's, anyway, tank hunters is a lot of what we're looking at here. Yeah, so it's have some Flak 88 guns. Those are the silhouettes on them. A lot of them have a reduced side, but many of them don't. So some of them are single-step units that will get destroyed. But then there's also breakdown cadre units. What do they call them in this? They are, yeah, no, they're called cadre units. So some units have like 3 steps, and then they can get reduced into these kind of generic cadres, and they give you a bunch of those to play around with. So here we've got the Allied units. We have obviously Americans on this side, and then we've got Commonwealth forces over here, and I don't know if they are. Yeah, I'm not gonna hazard a guess this. Okay, so. Again, we have our formation identification. So here you got like these airborne units. This is 82nd Airborne, 101st Airborne units here. And they have the little symbol on them that's different color. Really like that. Armor division over here. But again, we got all of the different Shermans, Stuarts. These are Jacksons, I believe. Different silhouettes of the tanks. And then we've got over here Allied forces. So we've got... well, this is 1st Parachute, and then we have Royal Guards. Well, I'm going to stop guessing at this point. But all Allied units over here, most of these are double-sided. I felt like a lot of these ones, a lot of them had blanks on them, so to speak. This one looks like it's a lot more. I don't know if that, because a lot of these are admin counters and stuff. But it looks like there's a good chunk of units there that have a dual-sided, which is nice. Appreciate that. So that's all the counters. And the last thing we have in the box is our map. This is a one-mapper, so this can fit on basically any table. And we're going to fold it out. And this is a very classic Civilization style map. What I mean by that is the terrain how it looks and how it's delineated. Very, very clear, very crisp. These are the larger size hexes versus something like the Dark Valley, which are very small hexes on them. But you can see it's Normandy, right? You have Caen over here. We've got all the beach landings that we're going to do all the way up to the Cherbourg Peninsula up here. And so there's that whole Cherbourg scenario where you're just going to do just these landings and then have to take Cherbourg and fight a bloody battle. Or you're doing these landings, take Caen, take Saint-Lô, take Cherbourg, establish a beachhead, and presumably break out at some point. But it's different from something like the Dark Summer from GMT, which is like the whole of, the North French campaign, where you have all this other stuff that you're trying to do. This really is focused in on just establishing this beachhead. You're not going into the Falaise pocket in the same way. Falaise is barely on the map. You're not doing that whole action and then going west or east, I suppose, in this instance. So this really is just, and you can tell also from the timeline, right? So you've got June 6th through June 27th. It really is the first 3 weeks of the landings, establishing the beachhead and making that progress inland. That's what we're doing in this game. But yeah, we have a weather table up here. We do have a terrain key. So this tells you the different pictures, iconography of what the terrains mean. And then we can refer to that singular play aid of the name of it to its effects. I do wish there was another one of these. That would be my only quibble. But that's Normandy 44. I know many of you have played it, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it, so let us know in the comments below. I am looking forward to this. We've played a number of games in this series, and we enjoy all of them. This is another one. I mean, it's a classic, in a way, like a modern classic. It's been around for a while. It's gone through a number of editions, number of printings. We just haven't got to it. This is the latest printing, so it's all nice, up to date with the rules. And there's a number of different micro expansions that have come in a number of different C3I issues. So I'll kind of amalgamate all of that in here as well, if it isn't already, which it might be. But we'll let you know how this is. We'll get this played at some point. But appreciate you very much for tuning in. This is Normandy 44 from GMT Games, and I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.